Okay, what do you say we kick this thing off?
Do it.
Do it.
Welcome, everyone, and thanks for joining us this evening. We have a great program to share with all of you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Here to introduce our special guest is our own head coach of the Knights basketball team, Greg Herenda. Greg?
Thank you, Mary, and thank everyone for joining tonight. We all are very excited about our featured speaker this evening. I say featured because he is not a guest. He is truly one of our own. He is an alum of our university where he graduated from Fairleigh Dickinson with a BA in broadcast journalism and a 4-year basketball letter winner. Mr. Seth Greenberg. Seth's basketball building blocks were formed right here on our campus of Fairleigh Dickinson University. Actually, on our old Rutherford campus and gymnasium under the tutelage of the legendary Al Labalbo. Seth played under Coach Lowe, where he learned so much about not only basketball, but the art of coaching. Coach Greenberg catapulted to the top of the NCAA coaching profession, twice being named the ACC Coach of the Year while coaching at Virginia Tech. After his illustrious coaching career, Seth has skyrocketed to the top of the ladder in broadcasting as the lead basketball analyst on ESPN's Game Day, where he is literally on the cutting edge of college basketball. Let's take a look at Coach working on his skills.
And in part by Cadillac and Smile Direct Club, delivering straighter smiles for 60% less.
Oh, Seth Greenberg! Who you got? Most exciting player in the country, Ja or Zion?
I got Ja for one reason. It's not just his shot. It's not just his dunking. It's his vision. That dude drops dimes that you cannot believe. He has incredible vision. Look, Zion Williamson is a freak show. There's no doubt about it. But this dude does it with the ball at the rim and also getting others involved.
Here we are in January. Who's going to win the national championship?
I go Gonzaga. I go out of the box. I think getting Killian Tilly back makes a difference for this team. Like their guard play, get a little mix in there.
I'm going to go from the worst loss in the history of the NCAA to the national championship, Virginia.
How about those efforts on the board? Awesome. His efforts off the floor are as extremely impressive as well. Coach Greenberg is a giver in every sense of the word. His dedication, loyalty, and generosity to Fairleigh Dickinson and our men's basketball program and our entire athletic department speaks for itself. He has given so much to so many. He's given to the American Heart Association, Coaches versus Cancer, to the Boys and Girls Club of America. And right here at FDU, he is the co-founder of the FDU Teammates for Life Foundation that has helped so many FDU teammates in their fight versus cancer. I am very proud to introduce to you a fellow Knight and a new grandfather from the class of 1978. We welcome back Mr. Seth Greenberg.
Thanks, Greg. Appreciate it. I'm not sure if you can see me because I'm seeing clips for Coach Greenberg on my screen right now, but I'm sure we'll get through that. And first of all, I'm honored to have an opportunity to visit with you. I mean, Fairleigh Dickinson is a special place for me. They gave me an opportunity to grow, mature, and basically chase a dream. I always wanted to be a basketball coach. And I got a communications degree from Fairleigh Dickinson, but my major was coaching basketball from my head coach, Al Labalbo. And to me, walking across that campus, I have so many vivid, great memories. And the campus has changed, the new housing and everything around it. It's incredible. So I'm honored to be asked to get a chance to visit with you. Now, before I do any talks, when I talk to businesses, when I do our pod shows or our web shows, I start now because we're in unprecedented times. And we have so many people to thank. And first and foremost, We've got to thank our first responders, our essential workers, the doctors, the nurses, the hospital workers, the people that move our food chain, all the people that are the greatest teammates there is, because they're putting themselves at risk for the good of others. And to me, that's what a great teammate's all about. So first and foremost, we cannot thank them enough. Secondly, please, and I understand it's difficult, we've got to be comfortable being uncomfortable. We've got to have incredible discipline. We've got to put on our masks. We've got to practice social distancing. We've got to make good decisions, because this is the only way we're going to beat back this pandemic and this virus. We've got to do it together. We've got to do it for each other, not just for ourselves, but for someone else. It's so important. If you could do every single day, do something for someone else, man, that's a heck of a day. And then finally, just as a society, we've got to have a greater sense of humanity. We've got to have a greater sense of compassion. We've got to have a greater caring for each other and respect for each other. And respect, whether it's racial, religious, professionally. We've all got to come together. It's just too important. And look, there's good and bad in every walk of life. That's just the way the world is, unfortunately. But if we can all kind of make a commitment to being the best version of ourselves every day and try to reach out and touch someone in a positive way, I really think we can slowly but surely, by putting good days on top of each other, push back the mood and the environment that we're living in right now. So I want to get that out, because to me, that's really dear to my heart and very, really important to me. Now, before we get started, look, I've been on your campus. I feel like it's my campus. I've been to all of our campuses. And look, as a student, this is not easy. This is so different than anything you've ever experienced. We're dealing with, obviously, times that none of us, there's no game plan, there's no cliff notes for dealing with a pandemic. But we cannot let what is going on a day-to-day basis, we cannot let this pandemic define your college experience, your college experiences previous, or your college experiences moving forward. Each and every day, there are roadblocks, there are detours. And you know what, we're just gonna have to find a way to navigate it. But when we get through this, the lessons that we learned from this experience are gonna last us a lifetime. And to me, the key is perseverance. And so when you're thinking that it couldn't get any worse, when you're thinking things are struggling and you're thinking and you're a little bit down, I have a really good friend, Rob Mendez. He won the ESPY award for at the ESPYs. He won the Jimmy V award. And you will see from this video, you talk about perseverance, you talk about roadblocks and detours and navigating life's challenges. You watch this video, you'll have a better perspective on what you're dealing with, and just try to put good days on top of each other. If we could roll this video.
Wow. Can't believe I'm here. Standing, sitting in front of Boomer. I like to think Boomer has a soft spot for his Niners, or for my Niners. Sitting backstage with Dwayne Wade, never saw this coming. Shout out to U.S. Soccer Women's. Awesome. All right, here we go. Thank you. It is an honor to be here tonight. I'd like to start by thanking my mother, Josie. I still remember going swimming with you, Mom, as you held me with one arm. I know you never wanted to make me feel left out of anything. So if there was a way for me to participate, you always found a way. Secondly, I'd like to thank my dad for being the best dad I can ever ask for. I still remember waiting for you to get home from work when we lived in Thayer Court like it was yesterday. And no matter how tired you were from a long day at work, you still took the time to play ball with me with my favorite plastic bat. Let's catch the Sharks game soon, Dad, just like old times. I love you, Dad. I'd also like to thank my Grandma Mona, my Grandpa Danny, my Tia Cindy, my Tia Tota, for always being there for me, no matter what. My whole family, my friends, Alex and Abid, and a big shout out to my caretaker, Mike. Thanks for being there for me. Love you, bro. Thanks also to Coach Cable and the whole Prospect administration, students, and last but not least, my Lord, Savior, Jesus Christ. Yeah. I also want to thank the game of football. I also want to thank the game of football for all of it's given me, for allowing me to be a part of a team. It's honestly been hard for me to fathom receiving this award to be recognized alongside heroes of mine like Coach Valvano, Stuart Scott, Jim Kelly, and so many others. But the reality is I am here. And if there's any message I want to give you guys tonight, it's to look at me and see how much passion I put into coaching and how far it's gotten me. When you dedicate yourself to something and open your mind to different possibilities and focus on what you can do instead of what you can't do, you really can go places in this world. Realizing I couldn't play football, but I could coach football. That was the way for me to never give up, from the words of Jimmy V. That was my way of focusing on what I can do. Let me tell you, best part of coaching for me is seeing someone's potential and making them realize what's possible. So for anyone out there not sure if they can do something, it could be in sports, it could be in your job, it can be in your life, whatever it is, I'm here to tell you that you can do it. You've got to be passionate. You've got to work at it, but it can happen. And I'm not done yet. I've made it this far, and who says I can't go further? That's my message tonight. Who says I can't? Nobody! Yeah!
That's an amazing guy. You know, there are times he'll pick up the phone and call me and pick me up. And I'm like, going, pick me up? But it just shows you, look, life is not fair. It's not fair. But it's the roadblocks and the detours, how you navigate those problems, those things is the key. I have a saying, and I think it's really good, especially in these times. Adversity visits the strong, it lives with the weak. Adversity visits the strong, it lives with the weak. And Rob is the perfect example of that. He's stronger than any obstacle that's ever been put in front of him. And to me, that's just absolutely incredible. And that's who he is every day. I know Coach Herenda had him on his radio show, and he's just an amazing guy. And he's a great lesson for all of us. This pandemic has kind of knocked us back. Things that are going on in society has knocked us back. We're not in a comfort zone that we're normally in. It's different. It's hard. It's daunting at times. That guy attacks every single day. He attacks every single day, and that's what it's all about. So my talks are life lessons from the bubble, and I affectionately call Fairleigh Dickinson Harvard on the Hackensack. I don't know about you guys, but to me, I mean, come on now, because your education is what you put into it, and the opportunity that Fairleigh gave me, to me, it was Harvard. And we used to joke about it, but to me, it's a special place. And so as I affectionately call it Harvard on the Hackensack, I'll probably refer to it as we move along. And the reason that my talk is life on the bubble, because as I was the head coach at Virginia Tech, we made the NCAA tournament one year. We won at Duke, we won at Carolina, but we went then 48 straight months where we were a bubble team. Whether we swept Duke and Carolina, beat Maryland, beat Duke on game day when they were number one, it made no difference. We were on the bubble, we stayed on the bubble. So these lessons are kind of learned from those experiences. And this is one of the things I just really believe. Some say run your own race. And basically, you know, to me, you can't have 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And some people say be the best version of yourself. Because, you know, everyone tries to be in competition with someone else. Be the best you. All right? You know, like the NBA is eventually going to have a combine. And when I've had players that have played in the league and they've gone to the combine, the one bit of advice I've always told those guys when they went to the combine was real simple. Show people what you can do. Don't show people what you can't do. Play to your strengths. Be the best you can be. But to me, the most important thing is, all right, be better than you were yesterday. And this is something I really want to get into because, to me, success is difficult. And you must be persistent to have success. It takes time. And you know what? Your failures help you appreciate your successes. Your failures are part of the process. Your failures are part of the journey. I'll give you a short story. I've got two interesting stories. When I was at Virginia Tech, my first ACC game was against North Carolina at home. And we lost by 100. It was our first year in the ACC, and this was a team that won the national championship for North Carolina, and they absolutely stuck it to us. Our second ACC game was at Duke. All right? 3 minutes into the game, my three best players have 3 fouls. A minute, 9 left in the game. They run my ass right out of the arena. I get thrown out of the game. They beat us by 100. So now I got 2 games in the ACC, and I've lost by around 200 points. 3 weeks later, Duke comes to Blacksburg, Virginia, and we win the game because our failures enabled us to better understand what we had to do to be successful. And our failures basically wouldn't have revealed the real true character of our teams to enable us to succeed, because that was our starting point. The same thing happened to me when I was at Long Beach State. We played VCU one year at VCU, and then the next game we had to play number 1 Kansas at Kansas. We went to VCU, flew cross country. We lost to VCU by 100. We got our tails run out. We fly to Lawrence, Kansas, one of the great arenas in the history of college basketball. And you know what? We went and had our best and our hardest practice we ever had. And 24 hours later, we beat Kansas when they're number 1 in the country. And it really is, failure is part of the process. Failure is part of the path to success. Failure gives you an opportunity to basically grow and mature and develop and develop the toughness and the character and all the intangibles that you need to be successful. So what I'm telling is, look, hey, being successful is not easy. If it was, everyone would be successful. Run your own race, be the best you can be, but more importantly, put good days on top of each other. Each and every day, make a commitment to get a little bit better. It's so important if you want to be successful. So if we can flip to the next slide, I think that's important. And we learned so much. And, if you want to be in a position of leadership, and whether it's in business or whether it's in coaching, things have changed. When I played for Coach Lababo, and Coach Lababo was a hard man. He was a tough guy. He set a standard, and we had to fulfill the standard. He coached us hard, and he demanded a great deal from us. But you know what? Trust back then came with a title. Today, trust is earned. So how do you earn trust? It's no different than in coaching, in business, in a relationship. It's earned. And it's earned by how you communicate, how much you care, your ability to connect with people, your ability to listen and hear, your ability to genuinely care about that person, not because that person can earn you money, not because that person can win you games, because you're invested in that relationship. And understand that doesn't mean you can't be demanding, but you can't be demeaning when you're leading. That doesn't mean that you can't have standards and you can't hold people accountable. But really, your goal as a leader, all right? Your goal as a leader is to help someone get somewhere they can't get themselves. Your goal as a leader, all right, is to help build a bridge for someone else to cross to fulfill their goals. And if you're in a stage of your life right now, you should find that leader in your life. You should find that person that can help you build a bridge to cross. You should find that person. What I mean by that is you need to develop a network. You need to try to use your experiences to meet as many people as possible, listen and hear, and develop relationships, because those relationships are going to open up doors for your future. And it is so, so important to network. When I first pursued a career coach in my senior year at Fairleigh Dickinson, at the start of the semester, I wrote 100 handwritten notes to coaches all over America, basically expressing what I wanted to do. Some responded, some didn't respond. But what I did was, the people that did, they opened up a relationship with those people who eventually actually opened up doors to give me an opportunity. One of those people was Terry Holland. So when I was an assistant coach at Pitt, I got let go because of, basically, and I'll get into it later, I didn't buy into what a coach asked me to do did not fit my core beliefs or my non-negotiables. I get let go. I get hired at Virginia in 1984 by Terry Holland because of those notes that I sent my senior year at Fairleigh Dickinson. And that spring, Virginia goes to the Final Four. I'm an assistant coach at Virginia. That doesn't happen. That door doesn't get opened. That bridge doesn't get crossed unless I found someone that basically invited me in, that believed in me, that gave me an opportunity. So as you're going through school, whether you're a freshman, sophomore, junior, I don't care, it is your responsibility to try to build a network of contacts. It's your responsibility, all right, to have follow-up. It's your responsibility to find mentors. Everyone needs a mentor. No matter Coach Arenda, who's a great coach, who's done an incredible job, all right? I'm sure he has people that he bounces things off of. I mean, there are coaches all throughout the country that I go around all over the country to speak to their teams. And then I try to mentor young coaches, but everyone needs someone to build a bridge for them. And, to me, if you're in that position, that's the way basically you pay it forward. But more importantly, where you are right now, find someone that's going to invest in your career. Find someone that's going to invest in your life. So find someone that's not in it and standing behind you. Find someone that's going to stand beside you. Because when someone stands beside you, they're in it with you. So that's really, really important. But understand, when you're in that position of leadership, trust doesn't come with a title anymore. Trust is earned, and that is really important. Who are you and how do you win? I mean, like every single person should know, what is your game plan? What's the game plan? What's the essence of who you are? What makes you special? What makes you different? What makes you memorable? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? I can walk into a gym, and I walk into the best practices in America, and within 1 second, I should be able to find the identity of that team. What's your identity? What's the scouting report on you? Can you have someone self-scout you? Because you've got to know who you are and how you win. If not, you know what? You're just going day to day. What's the essence that makes you different and special and good? When you're the best version of yourself, when you're your very best, what do you look like? And then what's your game plan? Like, everyone's got to have a game plan, right? Like, I'm really big on self-scouting, asking yourself questions. When I'm really at my very best, what do I look like? When I'm at my very best, am I prepared? Am I at my very best? Am I engaged? Am I at my very best? Am I a good communicator? Am I at my very best? What is happening? And I think that understanding your identity, understanding your strengths, understanding your weaknesses, so important. Like, it's no different than in coaching. Like, I tell my guys all the time, don't come out and say, well, you know what, I want to have the same shot freedom as Johnny. Well, if that's not who you are, that's not the best version of you, if that's not your strengths, why should you? You should work on your weaknesses and obviously play to your strengths. But you've got to have a game plan. And then the other thing you have to do is, and I really believe this, and understand it, especially for when you're in school, when you take that first job, what are your non-negotiables and what are your core beliefs? Like, you've got to stand for something. You know, I challenge you as an assignment, and you can look back on this every couple of months. Sit down and write down, what are your core beliefs? What are the things that really you, in your heart of hearts, really believe in? All right, and what are your non-negotiables? What if someone asks you to do X, Y, and Z? You say, no, I'm not doing it. That's not who I am. That's not part of my core beliefs. That's a non-negotiable for me. I had that situation. I was 23 years old as an assistant coach at Pitt, and I walked. I didn't know if I'd ever coach again. But when you're asked to do something that's outside of your comfort zone, when you're asked to do something that's not part of your non-negotiables, and then you've got to stand for something. That's got to be bigger than any promotion. That's got to be bigger than any grade. It's because that's going to be the thing that's going to be with you the rest of your life. So understand your scouting report. Understand what makes you who you are. Understand the essence of you. And that's just so important. And we'll get to this in a second. And then the other thing is, like, to give you an example. So we go to the ACC. We're in the Big East for a year at Virginia Tech. We go to the ACC. We're picked for last. All right. So what do I have to do? What is it? Who are we and how are we going to win? We got to play Duke. We got to play Carolina. We got to play Maryland coming off national championships. What are we going to do? So basically, what was our identity? Our identity was we were the hardest playing, toughest team. That we were going to guard, be physical, and take care of the basketball. That was going to be us. So everything we did was basically to beat the best three teams in our league. That's who we were, and that's going to be how we win. So that if you came to our practice every single day, you'd be hearing me say, we've got to be the hardest playing, toughest team. No, that's not good enough. All right? That's unacceptable, right? Because we have a standard. And if we were going to be successful against the Dukes and the Carolinas and the Marylands, that had to be who we were every single day. That's what I'm talking about, having a game plan. All right, so that's important. Now, I've got pillars that I think are important, and just let's look at the left side there, and I'm really big on this. My first communications class, Professor Dale, Jane Dale, who I had about 5 classes with, who was a terrific professor and was tremendous to me. The first class I ever had, she asked a very simple question. She said, what's communication? And I'm a sophomore at FDU. Everyone's, giving their 2 cents. She said it's real simple. It's a sender, it's a receiver, and it's feedback. So to do that, you actually have to listen and hear. Like, what makes our show so good on College Game Day with Jay Bills and now LaFonso Ellis and Reese Davis is we actually listen to each other. So if you listen to the person that's talking, then you can respond, which basically creates conversation, which creates communication, which creates something that's worthwhile to listen to. So, like, if you're going to be successful in life, I don't care what you do, you've got to learn to communicate. And a big part of that is learning to listen and hear. And not predetermine, not interrupt, but take the time to hear someone out. And then give feedback and then create a conversation. The other thing you need to do if you're going to be successful is connect. All right? You've got to learn to give someone your full attention. You can't connect with someone unless you give them their full attention. And I'm going to tell you, this resonated with me. We're in the ACC tournament. We're in Greensboro, North Carolina. We're getting played NC State for the semifinals of the ACC tournament. And we're at this great restaurant, and I'm looking, and all my guys are on their cell phones. So I turned to one of our guys and said, Zay, who are you texting? He said, Jaman. I said, Jaman is sitting freaking right across from you. And I lost my mind. I lost my mind. I asked the waitress to give me a basket, and I had everyone put their cell phones in the basket. I said, from now on, anytime we are as a group together, we are collecting these things and putting them aside. You can't give someone your full attention if this is around, because we're wired differently when this thing's around. All right. If you want to connect with someone, all right, then you know what you need to do? Get from behind the desk, sit with them face to face, make eye contact, and take this thing, turn it off, and put it away. And I know that's hard. That's really hard. But if you're going to be successful, all right, in leadership, connecting with people, communicating with people, getting people to buy into you, you're going to have to do that. You got to put this thing away. And finally, caring. Like I always say that, I'd be interested when we get done to ask Coach Ferrenda, you're going to win the games you're supposed to win, but to win the games you need to win in life. To win the games you need to win in life, it's real simple. The people that you're in it with need to know that you care about them as a person first. They need to know that you're genuinely concerned about them, their families, their well-being, and everything else. And it's, the old saying is, develop real relationships. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And I don't care if you're the greatest X and O coach in the history of life. I don't care if you're the most brilliant business person in the history of the world. You're not going to live on an island. You're going to have people with you, in it with you. And if you don't take the time to develop those real relationships, if you don't take the time to have real rich relationships, all right, then you know what? I got to tell you something. You're only going to win the games you're supposed to win. You're not going to win the games you're going to need to win. And then surround yourself with the right people. And this is something in terms of friends, as you're going through this pandemic together, whether you're in business, whether you're coaching a team, whether it's in finding your lifetime partner, surround yourself with people that share your commitment, share your vision, share your passion. All right, because if you don't, the biggest mistakes I've ever made in recruiting, the biggest mistakes I've ever made in hiring assistant coaches is that I thought I could change someone. And in the end, that's really hard. If you ever got a book, the simplest book, it's called The Energy Book. If you want to read some good motivational stuff, look up John Gordon. John Gordon is an absolutely terrific motivational speaker and writer. But he has this book called The Energy Bus. It's real simple. And basically, you've got to eliminate energy vampires from your life. And on your journey, all right, if someone wants a ticket on your journey, they've got to share your vision, your passion, your commitment, because energy vampires suck the wind out of you. You've got to eliminate them from your life, because if not, you're going to end up looking through the world through the prism that they look at it. And you know what? Eventually it's going to win. And then finally from here is most importantly, and it goes back when I started, everyone's got to have someone that they can count on. Be a friend, be someone, whether you're a coach, one thing as a coach I wanted to be that if something happened, I wanted to know our guys to know I was going to be there for them. Be someone in someone's life that they know they can count on. But think about that. Now, just think about that for a second. Imagine saying, Greg, I know he's counting on me. I can't let him down. Imagine if we all had a mindset and we all had a passion to say, you know what? That guy can count on me. I'm there for them. I'm there for him also. I'm there for him also. And now all of a sudden we're creating an epidemic of caring as opposed to an epidemic of hate. That we're creating an epidemic of investing in others as opposed to a pandemic of being totally involved in ourselves. Think about how much better we would all be. So Yeah, earn trust and respect, but both, what a great feeling when you know someone else can count on you. Man, it doesn't get any better than that. We're going to flip to that next one. All right, and I'm big on this. We all have a brand. I work with Jay Williams for a long time. Jay Williams now has a new radio show in the mornings on ESPN. And Jay is two-time college player of the year, a lot younger than me. We were great together. He was like the little brother I never wanted, I always told him. But he'd always joke with me, say, Coach, you need to work on your brand. Look, I'm 64 years old. I coach basketball. I talk about basketball. I got a granddaughter now. I got 3 daughters. One's an attorney, 2 others. One's married, and the other one's getting married. They're all doing great. But you all do have a brand. And you got to understand, every time you walk in a room, all right, every time you get on your phone and post something on social media, let me tell you something. Your brand is your resume. Your social media is your resume. Every time you hit send, it's your resume. And you know what? I probably shouldn't say this. That shit lasts you the rest of your life. The rest of your life. You've got to represent your brand the right way every single day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And for the athletes out here that are watching this, your brand is your team. Your brand is your family. Your brand is anyone who's involved in your life. And your brand is also your future. If you're in business, right, people are going to have an opinion. When you walk in a room, people are going to have an opinion. Is it the one you want it to be? Because the one thing about these things here, they document everything because they all have a little phone on them. Anywhere you go, whatever you do know who's watching. All right, so you've got to protect and guard your brand by making good decisions. We left every single practice when I was at Virginia Tech, and I basically bring our guys in and we can go play harder. We'd say at the end of practice, make good decisions. Because I knew when my guys went out into the real world, when they left practice in our little cocoon, they had choices to make. You guys have choices to make every day. Are you going to practice social distancing? Are you going to wear your mask? Are you going to make decisions that are going to impact the rest of your life? So protect your brand. And then as you develop your brand, understand, be real. Because I tell you, if you're not, a fraud is exposed in 2 minutes. Be authentic. And that's a big thing with ESPN. Be memorable. Try to be memorable. But you got to be real. Be genuine. Be yourself. That's like, Coach Aranda having a team and having his assistant coaches just want to be just like him. There's only one. He's an original. All right? He's authentic. Be yourself. Be who you are. It's no different. And finally, have substance. And it's a great story I tell. When you were coaching Virginia Tech in Blacksburg, it's not the end of the world, but you can see the end of the world from there. You get all kinds of these little folksy country stories. Well, there's a story about a bull and a turkey. And this turkey was wandering around this meadow, and he came over to this bull. And the bull said, turkey goes to the bull and said, you know what, we're in the meadow, but I'd like to get to the top of that tree. And if I got to the top of that tree, I could look out at the whole meadow. And this is the most beautiful piece of property in all of Blacksburg. And the bull said, well, I got to tell you something. Right here, I got a big load of bullshit right here. If you have a little bit of this, said it's full of all vitamins. I mean, it's going to make you stronger. And you know what? You might have a little bit of this. Tomorrow you might come back. By the time you digest it, you might be strong enough to get to the top of that tree and look at this beautiful piece of land. So, reluctantly, the turkey said, what the hell? I might as well do it. Has a little hors d'oeuvres, has a little snip here, a little snip there, comes back the next day, feels pretty good about himself. Flap, 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 gets about halfway up the tree, bam, comes crashing down. The bull says, look, you just had a little bullshit. You need a little more bullshit. So turkey says, you know what, I'm going to have the main course. So he has the main course, comes back the next day, feels pretty good about himself. Flap, 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 gets about 2/3 up the tree. Comes crashing down. Finally, the bull says, look, just have a whole heaping of this BS. And tomorrow you're going to get to the top of that tree. It's going to change your outlook on life. Sure enough, turkey has the whole thing. Comes back the next day just feeling good about himself. Goes right to the top of the tree. He's looking at this beautiful piece of land, and all of a sudden, it's around Thanksgiving. The guy who owns the land comes out with his gun, kills him dead. So what's the moral of the story? Bullshit can get you to the top, but it can't keep you there. And you got to have substance. You got to be real. You can't pump fake your way through life. And that's where preparation comes in. Let's go to the next slide. I know time-wise I'm running a little slow here. I apologize. We can flip that next one. These are just three things real quickly. If you're not passionate, how do you expect people around you to be passionate? Like, I want you to think about the first time you put on a Little League uniform, how you felt. Or your first day on a job, how you felt. Or your first day of practice if you're an athlete, how you felt. You know, as a head coach, I used to tell my coaches, when you become a head coach, you can't have a bad practice. Can't have a bad practice. You can't pick and choose when you're going to be passionate. All right? You got to be that every single day. So if you're not passionate and if you're going to be a leader, you're not going to be excited. How do you expect the people around you to have passion and energy? Two, you got to learn to compete. Like, life is all about competing. Life's not easy. It's hard. It's hard to be successful. All right? You got to draw a line in the sand every single day. You got to strap it on and be ready to compete, because you can't pick and choose whether you're a leader or whether you're trying to be a leader or whether you're trying to be successful. You can't pick and choose when you're going to compete. I had my next to last year at Virginia Tech, we had a pretty good team. But I had a player, and I'm not going to mention his name, who was in a new role. We're playing Wake Forest, first game of the ACC, we're 9-2. He comes into the locker room prior to the game, and he's going, oh, man, 12 o'clock games. I hate 12 o'clock games. This is brutal. We shouldn't be playing 12 o'clock games. We won 11 games in the ACC last year. I'm starting 4 freshmen with him. All of a sudden, my freshmen are going, oh, we're not supposed to be ready to play? You know, it's a 12 o'clock game. Why are we playing a 12 o'clock game? And they just kicked our ass, because you know what? We had a guy who was in a leadership position that didn't draw a line in the sand every day that day and thought he could pick and choose when he was going to compete. Life's hard, right? Life's a combat sport. I mean, like, everyone's trying to get where you're trying to go. You have to have a competitive spirit. You've got to have resilience. You've got to have toughness. You've got to fight through the bad times. You've got to get to the next play. Well, you know what? You got to be successful, you got to compete. You got to have agility. Like, you're experiencing it right now. No one thought there'd be a pandemic. No one thought you'd be in the situation you're in right now. For us, in coaching, agility would be you're playing Duke and Carolina 4 times. You better be able to understand how to play against pressure. So we played against 6 people. We played against scrambles with 6 people on the floor. We played against 6 people in defensive transition, because I wanted our guys to be comfortable being uncomfortable. I wanted our guys to prepare for the unexpected, to be ahead of the curve, be innovative. Life is about agility and having the agility to adjust and adapt on the fly. Coach does it every single game. You might have a game plan, it might not work. I mean, the other day, the Lakers played 3-2 zone. I don't think they went into the game thinking they would play 3-2 zone, but you know what? Nuggets were picking them apart. So they had to have agility. Now, they didn't win the game, but they had to have agility. They had to be innovative. They had to get outside their comfort zone. They had to be resourceful. And you've got to prepare for that. So if you're not passionate, you got to find what your passion is. You've got to be fiercely competitive, and you've got to have the agility to adjust. Let's flip to the next one. I'm going to try to go a little quicker here. This is just, if you're in a position of leadership, I'll go through this, the top 2. Culture is not a sign of saying. I love to go into these gyms, and there's 8,000 sayings on the walls. And you know what? Don't mean crap. All right? Culture is a feeling. You can walk in the gym in 5 minutes and know what that team's culture is, if it's good or it's bad, how they react to each other, how they react to the teammates. But you got to guard that culture every day, because culture is hard to establish and it's easy to lose. And, to the athletes out there, or even the people that are in clubs or whatever they're doing or end up in business, who's coaching your locker room is the most important thing, because it's the meeting after the meeting. It's the meeting after the hard practice. You got to have someone that helps you guard your culture. Player-led teams are better than coach-led teams. And that's the same thing in business. And then this thing is really important. You have a standard, and the standard doesn't change. The standard is the standard. All right? No one's lowering the standard. Whatever that standard is set, you've got to work every single day to fulfill that standard. And if you're not, you've got to be held accountable. And if you're not, you've got to allow yourself to be coached. And if you're not, the truth hurts. That doesn't mean demeaning, but you know what? Every single day, there's a standard that you need to be held to. And that in terms of in the classroom, socially, in every aspect of your life. Everything you do on a daily basis, you need to set a standard. This is acceptable, this is unacceptable. And I used to do these things, and as a parent, you'll do it later on. We call straight talk. You just bring a player in to your office, say, look, here's the issue I'm having. I'm going to tell you exactly the way it is. You can tell me how it is, but in the end, I'm going to make these decisions. You know, straight talk is meeting the truth head on. All right? You've got to be honest with yourself. And you might be having straight talk with yourself. If you get off track, you need someone. It goes back to having someone you can count on. You need someone that can get you back on track. Who's that person in your life that can help you get you back on track? Who's that person in life that cares about you enough to be straight with you and talk to you and care about you enough, saying, you know what, that's unacceptable, man. You're screwing up. You know, it's not going to work. You're throwing away an incredible opportunity. We used to leave every single day before a game. No excuses, no regrets. It's a mentality. The last thing you want to do in your college experience, the last thing you want to do when you get in a situation where you're trying to accomplish something, you're not always, like I said, failure is part of the journey. Roadblocks and detours are part of the journey. They help build the character. They give you a chance to appreciate your successes by seeing where you started. But I'll tell you what's not part of the journey. What's not part of the journey is excuses. What's not part of the journey is at the end of a game, walking in that locker room and saying, I wish I played harder. I wish I focused more on the scouting report. I wish I came to that test more prepared because I didn't. Now I'm not going to get the grade I want to get, so I'm maybe not going to get into graduate school. Or you know what? I didn't prepare for that interview. So when I go to that interview, I didn't do as good a job as I wanted to do, so maybe I'm not going to get that job. You got to live life with a mentality of having no excuses and no regrets. And you've got to hold yourself to that. Let's flip ahead because I know we're getting close. And this is the thing that everyone's got to do in life. Control your controllables. What can you control? You control your attitude. You can control your work ethic. You can control the type of teammate you are. You control how you interact with other people. You control how positive you are. Don't let people pull you down. And it's one of my favorite quotes. A negative thought is a down payment on an obligation to fail. Don't get into negative town. It's easy to get lost in there. Think about Rob Mendez. Imagine what would happen in his life if he got to negative town. Imagine what happened if every time you had a setback, you retreated instead of moved forward, right? You've got to get past that. And the way you're going to do that is with your attitude, with your work ethic, with your consistency. I call it the Outback mentality. You have Outback steakhouses in Jersey still? You guys have that, Greg? You do, right? So what happens to that? So when I was at South Florida, the president of Outback, Chris Sullivan, was a really good friend. All right. And so we'd eat there all the time. And what happens, you go to Outback, you get a nice steak with all that seasoning, you get a bloomin' onion with all that seasoning. It tastes great going down. Unfortunately, a couple hours later, it's the same result going out. That's just the way it is. All right. But you always know what you're getting when you go to Outback. That's, you know what I mean? You always know what you get. You got to have consistency in your life. You got to have consistency in your approach. And this is like anyone can do it on a given day. Anyone can do something once. Can you do it every day? Like I just watched my daughter prepare for the bar exam that she passed. She woke up at 5 o'clock every single morning and she studied till 9 o'clock at night, except for 2 runs and dinner for 3.5 months. It was incredible watching. Consistency. If you want to accomplish something special, get into a routine. Be consistent in your approach. Because you know what? You can do it one time, but can you do it every single time? And that's just by repetition, repetition, repetition. We were a good defensive team because you know what? We did it every day. I got that from Coach Lababo. If we were going to be good at something, you know what? Then you got to do it every day. every single day. The next play mentality is just, you got to get to the next play. Don't let one play, one mistake, you can't let it define you. You just can't let it define you. And then Derek Jeter just, basically, there's no reason to let anyone outwork you. Let's go to the next one because I think.
Yeah, Seth, you have 10 minutes left.
Perfect. This is perfect because I want to leave time for. And this is the last slide. See this guy on my right? I don't know if he's on your right or left, but that's Nick Nurse. All right. He was the head coach of the Toronto Raptors, or is the head coach of the Toronto Raptors. All right. You don't get anything done without persistence. I want to go through this with you. Now you got to understand now. He won an NBA championship. This is Nick Nurse's journey. All right. He was an assistant at Northern Iowa. He coached the Derby Rams. That's not in Lexington, ladies and gentlemen. That's in England. Then he went to the Grandview University. I don't even know where that is. I think it's in Michigan. Coach probably can help me, but I'm sure none of you applied there. Then he went to South Dakota State. Then he went to the Birmingham Bulls. All right, Birmingham Bulls, that's in England. Of course, the Manchester Giants, not to be confused with the San Francisco Giants or the London Towers. I know there's a tower in London, but this was actually a basketball team. Then he went to the Brighton Bears, not to be mistaken for the Chicago Bears. The Iowa Energy and the Oklahoma Storm, I'm sure those were fun places to be. The Rio Grande Valley Vipers, I can tell you, Rio Grande, that area makes Blacksburg look like New York City. And then, as an assistant to the Raptors in his first year as a head coach, he wins a national championship. That's called perseverance, because you know what? He's doing what he loves and loves what he does. And the persistence to chase his dream. He didn't get lost in where he was. He got lost in the process. We all have a process. All right? But you have to get lost in it. It doesn't happen. You're going to have setbacks. The process is not easy. But there are certain steps you have to go through in life. There are certain steps you have to go through in life to get to your destination. And that was his process. You hear Nick Saban talk about it all the time. Winning and losing. One great thing that Coach Lowe used to always tell us, winning and losing is a byproduct of what we do each and every day. All right? Your success, your journey, is a byproduct, all right, of you staying true to your process and putting good days on top of each other and understanding that there are going to be roadblocks and detours, and that's part of the process. And the adversity that you face along that road, all right, adversity is part of the process. Adversity visits the strong, it lives with the weak. You cannot let adversity set you back. It's got to be the motivation to move you forward and raise and achieve greater things. So, I mean, that's my talk from Life on the Bubble. I'm sorry if I put you to sleep, but I'll take some quick questions before this hour's up. Anyone have any questions?
I have one, Coach.
Sure.
What do you do as a coach or as a person in a leadership role when you have a teammate or somebody on your staff that's not buying in?
I think it's really, first of all, it's a staff member. What I would do is I would sit down with your head coach. What I call straight talk. Coach, I'm a little concerned about that. I don't think I'm on the same page with this person. If it's a teammate, if you're in a position of leadership within the team, all right, that's where peer pressure comes in. All right, and it's got to be positive peer pressure. It's almost like an intervention. Like, man, like we're trying to accomplish great things. We want to go back to the NCAA tournament. We want to hang another banner. To do that, we need to all be on the same page. We need more from you. We're all in this thing together. But you know what? If one person's pulling in the wrong direction, all right, it goes back to my energy vampires. Eventually, you got to eliminate those people. But it's not your place. It's coaches. But it's your place as a leader, to try to put your arms around that person, get them back on track. I used the phrase when I was coaching. I'd say, look through a tunnel. You're already winning the conference championship? What are the things that you do along the way? You were on time. You were a great teammate. You worked hard. You didn't take shortcuts. You did the right things. You did the right things off the court. Well, if someone's off track, you gotta find a way as a group to bring that person back in. And that person doesn't want to be back in. You can't coach someone who doesn't want to be coached. And that's when you got to cut your losses. But you've got to try as a leader, all right, to get someone to follow you. Because leadership is only as good as getting someone to follow you. Mm-hmm. So I would say that would be what I would do. And if it's someone within the staff, I would really obviously sit with coach and say, Coach, we got to get this guy on board. He doesn't understand the essence of who we are.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great question. Good luck, man.
Appreciate it.
Hey, Coach, I got a question.
Sure.
How you doing? So my name is Sal Jerai, and my question was, first off, actually, thank you for doing this. Silberman College of Business for setting this up. FDU Athletics, this was awesome. And this presentation, it reminds me of this podcast that I'm doing with my friend who's on this right now, Oliver Tavares. You know, we talk about motivation, inspiration, and establishing great work ethic, as you remind us. So my question for you is, you know, how did you deal and cope with failure on a personal level, whether it be on the court or off the court? And how did you motivate yourself to overcome those roadblocks?
Yeah, I've been fired twice, man. I mean, you know, I was 24 years old. I walked from Pitt, and I got fired at Virginia Tech. 2 different times. One, I was single, and the second time I obviously had a family. I just, you know, to me, it's hard. It's a challenge. You know, I mean, it could be, you can't let it define who you are. Like getting let go of Virginia Tech, I went back and I said, we beat 4 teams that were number 1 in the country. We were the 3rd winningest program in the ACC over 5 years. All right. So I found ways to say, you know what, that's their mistake, but I also had to move forward. And that's the agility. While I was coaching, I was fortunate that ESPN asked me to come in and do some work for them. Actually, CSTV first, which is CBS College Sports. And the guy that actually hired me there ended up being my agent. But I would not get beaten down. You have to have incredible belief in yourself. And then you've got to have a work ethic and a mindset to stay the course. And understand obstacles are part of the process. And I'll come on your podcast if you want.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I also actually just wanted to follow up with one more question now. Transitioning from a coach now to an analyst, I mean, how were you able to adjust to this new venue, you know, the whole change of your routine now, studying the game much more and watching all these games across the country? You know, what was your new schedule like and how were you able to adjust?
I wake up every morning during the season, all summer, 4 hours a day, every day in the summer. I break down a league or a team, or I create all these crazy lists, and I watch Synergy and do whatever I have to do. And during the season, I get a workout, and I put about 4 hours in preparing for my games that I have, sending ideas to our producers, our directors, communicating with whoever runs our college game day. I approach it the exact same way I did coaching. You can't have one foot in, one foot out. You've got to be all in. That's why I moved to Connecticut. I moved to Connecticut because I didn't want to be a part-time ESPN guy. I wanted to be all in.
Awesome, Coach. Thank you. And would love to have you on the podcast, of course.
Anything else real quick? We got about a minute.
Hey, Seth, it's Greg. I just want to thank you on behalf of everybody at the university, man. You're a great friend, a great contributor. You come back, you give yourself, and I think that you're just a tremendous role model. And I think all the student athletes, men and women, and administrators can see that, and we appreciate it greatly. So I just want to publicly thank you for a tremendous hour. And I know if people want to reach out to you, they can probably reach out to you, send you a resume or do whatever. Just like you wrote 100 letters, these guys should be doing the same. But just a big thanks.
Yeah, you guys can reach out to me, SethG4185@gmail.com. I'm a little slow with that, but as you know, anything I can do to help, glad to. I had an incredible experience at Fairleigh. It helped shape who I am today and open up doors for my future, and it's really important to give back. Harvard on the Hackensack. There's only one.
Seth, you're amazing. On behalf of Silberman College of Business, PDP program, thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm honored to be with you guys. Be safe. Put on your masks. Practice social distancing. Be disciplined. We got to do this thing together.
Absolutely. Thank you. Students, you can stay on for the QR code, and Pat can put Seth's email in the chat in case you want to reach out to him.
Thank you, Seth. See you later, Coach.
Thanks, guys. Be safe.
Thank you so much, guys.
Coach.
Thank you, Coach.
Take care. Peace.